So, we meet again. Welcome to Rumble Book Club. I'm your host, Mike Hernandez, and this is the show where a normal guy like me can talk about cool books he's read, all the new, good, and bad. So if you like the show, you like the content, you like the books that I talk about, then subscribe right down below. Hit that little bell to let you know when the next video is coming out. And also, in the details, you can find how you can actually support the show and provide books and lighting, sound equipment, all these things that allow me to be a weirdo on camera for you. All right, friends, today we're going to take a look at a really cool book that I finished reading a few weeks ago, and I'm glad I did because now I get to share it with you. Today we're going to take a look at Stolen Youth by Bethany Mandel and Karol Markowicz. It is a DW Books release, and it's quite interesting, actually. In this book, two female journalists are discussing a phenomenon that is going on in society in which all of our children, mine, yours, are the target of political radicals that are trying to influence them and turn them over to their side and turn them into essentially political foot soldiers that will do their bidding. So looking at the aesthetics, this is kind of a play on the old 80s theme of missing children going on a milk carton, and so they definitely use that to allow a little bit of a pop there, and I find it to be rather fascinating. But moving on to the readability, Mandel and Markowicz are very personal in their writing style. They're both wives, they're both mothers. They have also made decisions in their own personal lives because they have been affected by the contents that they write about in this book. And so it's very easy to relate to them as a parent, as a spouse, as someone that's fighting to do the best for your children on a day-to-day basis and feeling hindered a lot of times by the culture around you. And so their reading is very accessible and very stimulating on a emotional level, a mental level, a psychological level, and also it's very easy on the eyes. The print set is bold with cream-colored font, which makes it easy on the eyes and easy on the mind. So as far as the readability goes, it gets a very solid score of 9 out of 10. Now looking at the content, Mandel and Markowicz are discussing a phenomenon that you've probably noticed in your own life, and that's the fact that regardless of what you are actually teaching your kids in their household, they're getting information outside of that, and it's not always good information. There is a nefarious influence on your children's life. There's a war on your kids, there's a war on my kids, and it's an attempt to turn these kids into mindless foot soldiers that will spout the right lines, speak the right way, and it goes completely against the grain of what you actually want them to believe, what you actually want them to be as they grow up and mature into good adults. This phenomenon of influencing and indoctrinating children is not a new concept. It's actually a very old one. Totalitarian governments and oppressive societies have targeted children for years. They did it in Hitler Youth in Nazi Germany. They did it in communist Russia, where they influenced children to rat out their parents and to inform on their parents and get them turned in and sent to gulags or outright killed, and to get these kids to buy into a belief that they should be separated from their parents and join this greater movement. And the way they're able to do this is through three primary pillars that Mandel and Markowicz discuss. The first pillar is through education, which is a very obvious choice. If you want to influence children, well, they have to be in school. It's mandated by American government that every kid be educated. So if it's already mandated and parents don't have a choice that they have to educate their kids, and for most parents it's actually incredibly hard to homeschool your kids, and it's very expensive to send them to a private school where parents typically have more control over what their kid knows, then the public school is this vast feeder system where all you have to do is infuse it with plants that follow your own ideology, and then it becomes very easy to just brainwash these kids and fill their head up with the information you want by changing the curriculum, changing the books they read, changing the kind of lectures they receive, and then putting a big wall of privacy between the parent, who's actually responsible for these kids, and the actual child themselves and the teacher, giving the teacher and the school administration this wide open field to run unopposed with their ideology. The second pillar is kind of a combo platter between the field of medicine and the actual culture, the culture of media, what your kids read, what your kids watch, how your kid is entertained, whether that be social media or TV or movies, or the very music they listen to. All of this is being infused with the particular ideology of these political radicals, whether that be critical race theory, whether that be the subjection of women to be seen as pieces of meat, whether it's the interchangeability between men and women, the separation between child and parent, or this extreme indoctrination to hate your country, hate your race if you are anything other than what's deemed as a person of color. So it's all this ideology that parents, a vast majority of parents, do not agree with. with, are not on board with, and it's being pushed on their kids through everything they watch, everything they read, everything they hear. It's all around them. It's in the air they breathe, it's in the water they drink, it's in the food they eat. And in addition to that, the field of medicine is being infused with radicals that also believe this stuff, and not only believe it, but even the ones that don't believe it are being weeded out because the selection process of how doctors, particularly pediatricians, which is the most politically radical field of this medicine, it's psychology and pediatrics are the two most bent towards this ideology. They're being selected according to being able to check boxes, not on their expertise in the field. So think about this. The doctor that could be in charge of diagnosing your child with a disease, or helping to fix that disease, or helping them work through mental or emotional struggles. The doctor that's doing this might not be picked because they were the best in their field, because they were the person best capable of helping your child, helping to do no harm. They might have just been picked because they checked a box, because they had skin color like mine, or because they had an ideology that fit the radicals and had nothing to do with their actual mental acuity or their physical skill to perform surgery, which is a terrifying fact as a parent. If my child is extremely sick and needs open heart surgery or needs a tumor removed from their brain, I want the best hands. I want the best doctor working on that. I don't want someone that's a political radical that got checked because he's a political radical and has no real skill in that field. But it's a very real phenomenon that is going on and will increase as time goes on if parents don't take an active role in trying to stop it. The third and final pillar that Mandel and Markowicz describe is this very evil, twisted attempt to sexualize your children. That is through the school system, that is through the medical establishment, that is through the pharmaceutical industry, it's through the culture, through social media, through conversations that are going on everywhere and around surrounding your child. It is this attempt to sexualize children, to turn them into beings that are fluid in their sexuality and are expressive in their sexuality, which is wildly inappropriate and goes completely against the instinct of a parent to protect the innocence of their child. Everything from Blue's Clues and PBS and the TV show Arthur and Disney movies, all of this stuff is beginning to expose children to ideology that sexualizes them and numbs them to not just the concept of sexuality in general, but also the differences between men and women, the inherent God-given difference between boys and girls, between men and women, between male and female. These are the three pillars that they discuss, and they also, at the very tail end, discuss different strategies parents can take in order to protect their children. Things such as, working with a community of parents, staying within church communities, trying to homeschool to educate your children. They provide examples of how parents can take command of their child's life again and stop letting the culture become their parent and replace them as the parent. So the book is interesting. It is riveting. It's frightening at times. But I consider it a very important read. If you're a parent or someone that is married, you're thinking about having kids, this is the book to read. I would highly recommend it. So as far as the content goes, it gets a perfect score. 10 out of 10. I got this book online. You can find it at Amazon.com. I know I've always advocated for going to the bookstore, but in all honesty, Barnes & Noble is really becoming a pillar here. I'll walk through the kids section and I'll see this sexual content put all through the kids section. So from this point on, I'm no longer advocating for people to go to Barnes & Noble. If anything, just get the book online. I know there's no safe avenue to get a new book that is separated from, this kind of ideology, but Barnes & Noble is being very blatant with it. They're putting stuff like, trans child, the gay BCs, they're placing these right in plain view in the kids section, anti-racist babies, stuff like this, stuff that's meant to indoctrinate your children. With how blatant it is, I think it needs to go. I'm done advocating for going to Barnes & Noble. So you can get this book online at Amazon. The book is Stolen Youth by Bethany Mandel and Karol Markowicz. Go ahead and get yourself a copy. Thanks for watching, everybody, and go read something.